Hey there, I'm Amy Cornell. I'm your Texas broker for Front Real Estate, here to help you real estate better. Let's talk about roofs for a minute. Really important system in the house. Really important, like our skin, but we don't ever think about it, right? And roof is kind of like that. We just don't think about it a lot until it comes time to sell that house. And then we need to think about it a little bit. So I will tell you, when I go in for a listing appointment, I should be asking how old the roof is and when they had it last checked by their insurance company for any sort of weather-related damage. I will tell you, I am bad at that in my systems. So you should do as I say, not as I do. Because what happens more often for me is that I don't think about it when I'm actually meeting with them, just because there's so many other things that are right in front of me. And then I wait until I get the seller's disclosure. And then when I get that seller's disclosure, I'm like, oh yeah, I should have talked with them about that. Because on the seller's disclosure that we utilize in our practice in Texas, we use the Texas Realtor seller's disclosure, not the Texas Real Estate Commission seller's disclosure. Because that Texas Realtor's disclosure does cover a little bit more than the Texas Real Estate Commission disclosure. And so we want to make sure that our sellers are as comprehensively covered as possible. And so we want to make sure they have that more expansive coverage of that. So part of that disclosure, it asks what type of roof you have, which in North Texas anyway, most of our clients will have a composition roof. And then it will ask how many years. If I see that age is really less than 7, indications are things are pretty good. Here's the deal. When you put a composition roof on a house, it performs fairly well in the beginning, and I'm speaking from a North Texas perspective, right? So it performs pretty well. It's fairly, I don't want to say spongy, but it's like it's able to react. And so if a hailstorm comes through, unless the hail is really large, a lot of times it can withstand the impact from it. So it's good news. And that's really why insurance companies will offer discounts for homeowners that have a roof that has been done with or put on within the last 7 years. So things are pretty good. Technology's better on it too. Like there's a lot of things that are good about younger roofs. But as roofs age, especially between 7 and like 20 years, even though those are rated as a 30 or 40-year roof, they become brittle. The Texas sun just beats down on them. It depends on how much ventilation is in the attic as to how much radiant heat is coming up from the bottom of the roof as well. And so it's getting hit from both sides. And so that does make it a lot harder, and it makes it more brittle, where then even a more minor hailstorm can come through and it can really impact that home or that roof system. So if I see a seller's disclosure that has really anything more than 5 or 7 years, or I know that there has been hail in that area or that market, and that's, just because I'm living here, I'm watching weather reports, I'm kind of tracking that over time. So if I know that, then I am going to question them to see, hey, have you had your insurance company send an adjuster out since whenever, really, since that last hailstorm, to check to see if you had any weather-related damage? Now, I say weather-related damage because it's not all just hail. It can be hail, or it can also be high wind. High wind can get underneath the shingles and blow them up, and then that also causes breakage because they bend up and they break that way, and the seal isn't there on the roof anymore either. So it can be either that way, or it can be an impact related where that hail hit and then it broke the shingle from there. So again, I'm not a roofing expert, right? But that's what I want to know from the consumer, from that homeowner is, hey, when was the last time you had your insurance company come out and take a look at the roof? And, if they have lately, great. Then we just go on down the road and we wait and see what happens. See if the buyer's inspector has an issue. See if there are any questions about it. See if the buyer's insurance company has any questions. But likely we'll be okay. We'll just sail through to closing and everything will be fine. But if we haven't had somebody come in and check it at any time recently, then normally I'm going to get one of what I consider my friendly roofers to go and jump up on the roof and see what they think. Now, I say that because I don't get up on roofs. Y'all, I don't get up in attics. I don't get up on roofs. Like, that's just not part of what I provide as my unique value proposition. So I can't say, and I'll have consumers look up at a roof from the ground and say, oh, yeah, that's going to need a new roof. Come on. I can't tell that, y'all. I'm looking at these things every day. But there is really no way to tell until somebody gets up on that roof that actually knows what they're looking at. One of our, what I consider friendly roofers are going to be, just a roofer in town. They know the areas even better than I do on what hail has hit where, and they're able to look and see, is this a roof that an insurance company would buy, like buy to replace, or is it one that would pass and be fine? They'll also look and see, is it one that will pass for the next insurance company? Are there going to be any issues down the road of a buyer not being able to get insurance for it? And really, they'll give you feedback. Now, I know I've said, like in previous videos about foundation companies and those kind of things, that when you call somebody out for a free evaluation, what are they there to do? Sell something, right? And so I will tell you, they are looking. If there is damage, they are going to say, hey, you need to call your insurance adjuster because we need to get a new roof on here. To me, having a roof that is damaged by weather-related impact, that is not something that I want to have on my house. And so I don't look at this as in the same way as I do foundation, where foundation is just kind of a dent in the car. I'm not that worried about it. To me, getting regular roof changes is more like getting regular tires, right? I want to make sure that those tires are good on my car because I don't want anything bad to happen. Same thing with a roof. I really want to make sure every time there is hail-related, weather-related damage on that roof that it's getting changed out. Now, it used to be in Texas, right, that a consumer would do that every single time because they really wouldn't feel it. They wouldn't really pay that deductible because a lot of times the roofers rolled it into the overall cost and it wasn't something that they were paid. That is not the case now. Now there is a measured requirement that whatever your deductible is on your insurance policy, that consumer will have to pay. And so a lot of times when I'm talking to a seller about this, they're like, Amy, hold on. Right? I don't want to call my insurance company because if they come out and say, yes, there is weather-related damage, yes, we need to replace that roof, that's going to be 2% deductible charged to me. I understand that, but that is also the reality of the situation. The reality of the situation is just like tires on a car, a roof is a maintenance-related issue that has to be done. And so to me, you've just got to go ahead and address it. And so then a lot of times I'll get that, okay, Amy, so we did what you said. We got this new roof. So now how much more are you going to be able to sell my house for? Well, likely none, because getting a new roof is a maintenance related issue. This is not something that makes your home automatically more valuable. It would make your home way less valuable if you didn't have a roof that was insurable for the future buyer. Because if your buyer cannot get insurance because your roof has weather related damage on it, then that means they can't get financing. Which is a pretty big deal, right? We do have some cash buyers walking around, but what do cash buyers want? A discount. And so I want a buyer who is going to get financing, and I want to make sure that everything is ready to go for that buyer to get that financing right from the very beginning. So, hey, you know what? That just means you have to get a new roof, and that means you're going to have to pay that deductible if you want to sell your home. Do you want to sell your home? Should we reconsider? Should we pivot and do something different on that? Maybe we need to replace the roof this year and we need to look at selling next year. I can't make this not happen. This is already, the cart is out. This is already happening. There either is impact, weather-related damage on the roof, or there is not. So dealing with it before we ever list is really, to me, the fairest way to go about this, because I really don't want to have this conversation about the 2% deductible and about that, hey, this just is the way that it is, after we have already contracted for the sale of that property. Because at that point, right, they've already spent money on getting the house all ready. I've spent money on marketing the house. We have a little buyer that went and spent money on option fee and inspection fee. And now we find out that the seller either can't afford the deductible or is unwilling to do it. It's difficult. Now, I will tell you, if there is an affordability situation of like, hey, I really cannot afford 2% or whatever the deductible is, maybe it's not that high, right? Some people have like a $500 deductible, whatever the deductible is. If they can't afford it, most of the time our friendly roofers will accept payment at closing. And so in this market, most of our sellers are selling with quite a bit of equity, and so they can just have that paid out of that equity at closing. So we're trying to make it as easy as possible. But the reality is we've got to make sure that that roof is good and insurable for that next buyer. Otherwise, that buyer will not be able to get financing and we are not going to have a deal. All right, so I hope that helps. I will tell you the one other thing to watch out for, and that is called functional obsolescence. I will tell you, I run into it very rarely in North Texas because we have so much weather-related damage. But if you run into a roof that has functional obsolescence, that is saying that really the roof, it needs to be replaced, but it does not have any weather-related damage on it. Like I said, it does not happen very much, but in that circumstance, that may be where you need to have a second adjuster come out, may need to work with their insurance company just to see what options there are. It just depends on what the situation is. I will tell you one other thing too, is that the seller needs to be prepared is that they own that home and own whatever damage happens to that roof all the way up until closing. Okay. So if a hailstorm hits in between when the buyer did the inspection and closing, that could be still something where the seller has to replace the roof. So just know that that's just part of it, that we're always watching the weather and seeing what is happening, and then getting properties evaluated kind of as we go. All right. I hope that helps. If you have any questions related to roofs, let me know. I mean, again, not an expert. Really, the best thing to do is really find a great roofer in your market, partner up with them. They're going to get some great business out of it because we are replacing roofs relatively frequently on this side, but they're also going to really help you to make sure that your sellers are as prepared as possible for going forward. All right. Thanks so much.